start off with a little anecdote that kind of really sums up sort of the success so far of the RHODI Project. We have contacted over 190 different organizations, or we have 190 organizations on our list, and they are primarily history and heritage organizations. In calling that list, the list was originally over 400, we made some calls to organizations that might be either they might not fit or they might fit. One of those was the Natural History Museum at Roger Williams Park. It doesn't quite fall into our categories because it's natural history and it's a great museum, but it's not the history sector that we're part of. And then they told us that they had a collection of photographs and other documentation for the creation of the bridges and the roads during the WPA era. Now, that's one of those things that no one would probably ever think to go to the Natural History Museum to find out stuff about the WPA and the New Deal. To me, that really sums up what the RHODI Project is ultimately for and to be for the public. It's to just connect all those organizations that might not have a wider presence on the web or in the public in general. So we are going to include the Natural History Museum, and I hope that that can increase those collections' usages. As I was talking about the organization selection, we had over 400 organizations that were put together. The list was given to us when I came onto the project, and we did narrow it down to about 190. The criteria that we used was that the organizations had to be history related, they had to be publicly accessible, and they had to be somebody that we could contact. You would not believe how many organizations that immediately lopped off the top of the list. There are a lot of great places out there, but if you can't get a hold of them, then the public is never going to be able to get a hold of them. So the first part of the project was to make a decision who we were going to contact and who we weren't. Once we had our list selected, we began the actual survey itself. And the survey is it's pretty straightforward. What we do is we reach out to the organization, we set up an appointment, we go to the site itself. There are two people that go, one person to conduct the survey and one person to actually record the data. And this works out really well because, as Elyssa said, it's more of a conversation. We find that if you have an electronic survey, you might put the information to get it done quickly and send it back. But if you're talking to somebody over a table and just having a conversation, things that you might not forget, or things that you might forget or not remember come back. I think that happened with Jim when we were at Cranston. We'll be 20 minutes after a question, he thought of something, we went back and added it back in. So the answers we're getting are much richer and much fuller. As Elyssa said, the project outcomes are going to be the white paper, which will be both factual and have some anecdotes in it about some of the information that we found and some steps where we want to go in the next phases, as well as the online directory. Now, some of you may know that there is an existing online directory through, I think it's Visit Rhode Island, that has a pretty comprehensive list of cultural organizations within the state. The one thing that that website does not have is subject area information. So the RHODI directory will be able to point you in directions for, say you're looking for something on the War of 1812. You'll be able to find every site in the state that has information on the War of 1812. And that might link you places that you wouldn't think might not have information about that. The other aspect that we're going to try to work on is a donation function. So you'll be able to donate money to organizations through the RHODI directory. A lot of the larger organizations have an online giving presence already established, but some of the smaller organizations don't have the technical skill or the know-how to do that. So we'd like to be able to offer something back to the organizations. One of the big things that we'd like to also strive, and sort of the unspoken goal, is establishing connections to make collaborations between organizations. Another prime example, we were at Salve Regina's library, and they received a grant a few years ago to purchase scanning equipment, and they have a large format scanner. As part of the grant, they were actually tasked with providing that for other organizations to use. Now, it's one of those things, they're in Newport, and it's kind of hard to get there, but I think if other people knew that that was available, it would be something people would actually really like to use. So it's making the connections between organizations and resources in one part of the state and another part of the state that might need that. Or, for instance, if there's an organization that has some materials that they can't handle or they don't know what to do with, we might be able to find another organization that could actually utilize those materials or have more resources to take care of them. As Elyssa said, the future of the RHODI Project is wide open, and the sector survey that we're doing is going to really provide us with information so the Rhode Island Historical Society and the RHODI Project can be sort of resources for organizations. and just to reach out and help us all make the best use of our diminishing resources in the state. So.